The Hacker News Network presents HNN Cast with your host, Space Rogue.
HNN Cast is sponsored by Astaro, simplifying security, and by Trustwave Spider Labs, providing advanced information security services to planet Earth. Become a sponsor. Email sales@hackernews.com.
This is Space Rogue for the Hacker News Network, and this is HNN Cast for the second week of January 2011. Our top story this week, a Chinese auction site similar to eBay called Taobao.
Taco Bell.
No, Taobao. Jeez. Anyway, they were listing over 50,000 iTunes accounts that had been created using stolen credit cards or legitimate accounts that had been breached. Access to the compromised accounts were being sold for as little as 1 yuan and guaranteed access to the entire iTunes store for up to 12 hours. So if you have a credit card attached to your iTunes account, you may want to disable it. If you use gift cards, you may want to use only small value cards and always make sure to use a strong password. Taobao said that they have not received any complaints, and Apple evidently declined to comment on the original BBC story. North Korea has had some problems with a few of its internet accounts recently. While there is limited access within the country, there is an official Twitter feed and an official YouTube channel for North Korea, both of which were compromised recently. The breach occurred on the birthday of Kim Jong-il's son, Kim Jong-un. The accounts remained compromised for several hours, during which time several tweets critical of the North Korean government and cartoon videos featuring Kim Jong-un running over children in a luxury sports car were featured. Unfortunately, because few people have internet access inside North Korea, the criticisms failed to reach the target audience. But hey, the rest of us thought it was pretty damn funny. The personal details of about 4 million Vodafone Australia customers, including names, addresses, driver's license numbers, and credit card details, have been publicly available on the internet in a major lapse of security by the mobile phone giant. Initial reports indicate that lapsed password policies enabled the sharing of passwords with unauthorized parties, who then made copies of the Vodafone customer database. The information also contained voice and SMS log files, which have found their way into the hands of bad guys who are using the files to blackmail Vodafone customers. Vodafone has already filed several employees in relation to this breach and have called in the New South Wales Police Service to help them investigate. Last week, we promised you some video from the Chaos Communications Congress that happened in Germany in December, and we are working on it. But before we release that footage, we wanted to share with you a rather big story that came out of the Congress. According to Colin Mullner and Nico Gold, security researchers at Technical University Berlin, specially crafted text messages can easily disable a cell phone or even cause issues for an entire cell network. The researchers tested a wide variety of phones from Nokia, Sony Ericsson, Samsung, Motorola, LG, and others. Many of the phones would display a white screen of death, disconnect from the network, and restart when receiving one of these texts of death, if you will. While not tested, these vulnerabilities could be exploited on a wider scale, causing thousands of phones to reset and attempt to reconnect to the network at the same time. I doubt embedded device software gets audited for vulnerabilities very often prior to release. I suspect this will probably become a bigger problem rather quickly. That's not the only news to come out of 27C3. A pair of researchers demonstrated a very inexpensive way to eavesdrop on encrypted GSM calls and text messages. Using a $15 handset, a laptop, and some free software, the duo was able to easily listen in to calls. If you've been paying attention, this shouldn't come as any big surprise. Law enforcement has had expensive equipment available to them that would do the same thing for some time now. And HNN has been telling you about flaws in the various GSM encryption technologies for about a year, like the recent breach of the GSM 64-bit A51 algorithm. While this is definitely a cool hack, it is also just a natural progression of people continuing to bang away on stuff. One of the cool features of the research done by Noel and Sylvian Mena is that they were able to pretty much pinpoint a specific handset on a GSM network to target by simply sending broken text messages that didn't show up on the phone. Now that's pretty damn cool. Regardless of where you stand on the whole money for vulnerabilities and bug bounty programs being offered by Mozilla and Google, There's no arguing that it works, in that it finds bugs, and good ones too. Well, good being a relative term, of course. Google has just released a new version of the Chrome browser fixing several bugs found by participants in its bug bounty program. One of those bugs was rated critical, which probably means it can break out of the sandbox. It is described as a stale pointer in speech handling and was credited to Sergey Glazunov. Glazunov has 4 other credits in this release alone and has earned over $7,000 in bug bounty money from Google. This version of Chrome cost Google over $14,000, including Google's first elite payout of $3,133.70. We'll be back with more H&N Cast and a big hot tool time after these messages.
Dean Martin promotion. Hi, I'm Chris Nickerson. I'm a liability for everyone. I promote H&N.
Bye.
Welcome back to H&N Cast. While Iran still struggles to remove Stuxnet from computers at its nuclear facilities, they're evidently busy breaking into the email accounts of opposition leaders. Iran's Minister of Intelligence has publicly stated that they have broken the passwords of opposition members' email accounts within 48 hours of them being changed. It should not come as any surprise to anyone that governments can and do break passwords to personal accounts. What surprises me is the speed at which they claim to do it, and that they publicly admit it. Another homage to Superman 3, another person will likely end up in jail for siphoning off payments from his employer. In this case, Jeremy Parker, who worked for SWReg, a subsidiary of Digital River. He broke into the royalty system that was used to pay independent software developers and siphon out $250,000 to his own personal account. This isn't the first time Digital River has been hit with a systems breach. Back in May, we told you about a kid in New York who was arrested after he attempted to sell information on 200,000 people that was taken from Digital River in a, quote, highly unusual search, whatever that means. So how do you protect your cyber assets if you are a small Baltic country with a population of a little over 1 million people? You don't really have a military to speak of, and yet everyone around you is mobilizing their cyber armies. So what are your options? How about drafting your own cyber army? That's what little Estonia has decided to do. After suffering a pretty severe cyber attack, presumably launched by Russia back in 2007, Estonia is planning to possibly institute a cyber draft and to create a cyber defense league where programmers, computer scientists, and software engineers come together under one military command. This is sort of giving some people in the US kind of some crazy ideas. We mentioned text message attacks against mobile devices earlier in the broadcast, but there are also some new Trojans out for other mobile phones, specifically those running Android, which now have to watch out for the Genome Trojan. Genome is grafting itself onto other apps and is showing up in Android app stores across the web. The Trojan has the ability to operate as a botnet and has been siphoning off user data from the phone and sending it to remote servers. Hey, people, be careful where you download your freebies from. Speaking of freebies, someone has taken the time to go through the top 10 links on Google for free WordPress themes and test them for malware. Out of the 10 links on the first page, 9 of them were offering up WordPress themes with hidden links to questionable sites at best and downright spam at worst. A lot of the links were obfuscated behind Base64 and other trickery, so they weren't readily apparent. So what was the one site out of 10 offering clean themes? WordPress.org. So again, be careful where you get your freebies from. There is some pretty bad going down in Tunisia right now, and if you're using the internet in that country where there are some things that you should be aware of. It would appear that the Tunisian Internet Agency has been injecting JavaScript into the login pages of Gmail, Facebook, and Yahoo, among others. An analysis of the code indicates that the script is siphoning off logins, which may explain the rash of recent email account break-ins reported by Tunisian protesters. One good thing to note is that the script appears to only work with HTTP and not HTTPS. We don't know if Firefox with NoScript will block this or not. Either way, if you're in Tunisia or anywhere else, be careful. That's it for big news. We'll have the quickies later. But first, that's right, it's tool time again.
Does everybody know what time it is? Tool time! That's right, Binford Tools is proud to present
Space Rogue.
This week, Tool Time is huge with lots of hot tool news. First, your updates for this week. Whisper Systems Tech Secure is updated again. It's on the Android market and has a friendlier key exchange. The Digital Forensics Framework is now at version .9 and it's indexed up at the Vulnerability Database for your convenience. Also at the Vulnerability Database, OpenDLP is now at version .2.5. It requires domain credentials, but will attempt to enforce against leaks using agents and a centralized management console. NewsSparker Community Edition has been updated. Get it at Mavi Tuna Security. GR Audit, a static code analysis tool for PHP, has been updated to version 2 beta 002, and it's indexed up at the Vulnerability Database for your convenience. Hajiv, the automated SQL injection GUI, has been updated and is indexed at the Vulnerability Database. Wireshark has been updated, both branches of it. And Zap, or the Z attack proxy, is making moves lately and is trying to call attention to the fact that the project is actively maintained. Zap, like Burp Pro, provides automated scanners, spidering, and all the other stuff you'd expect from an intercepting proxy tool. Zap is a fork of Peros Proxy and is up on code.google.com. That's it for updates, but there is one tool we've been unaware of for some time apparently. Dark Comet Rat 3.0 was released this week. Dark Comet is a remote administration tool. It's stealthy and runs on Windows 2000 or later. It's reportedly stable, function-rich, and totally free. It's indexed at the Vulnerability Database. It's not often a new operating system comes along. New distros, yes. And yes, we've recently seen the Qubes OS. But now there's a second, or third if you count OpenBSD, operating system designed with security in mind. The Nexus OS from the CS School at Cornell is focused on moving as much out of the kernel into userland as possible. It reduces the size of the trusted computing base and uses various advanced mechanisms within the TCB to attempt to assure system integrity. It's still young, but you can find a link to the virtual machine and the ISO at the Vulnerability Database. Fuzzor is an open-source dynamic scanning tool for fuzzing Oracle 8i and above databases. It will identify vulnerabilities in PL SQL stored procedures, but requires registration to download. The link is up at the Vulnerability Database, or get it direct from Centrigo. H&N sponsor Spider Labs has released Yara Ruby bindings for the Yara file analysis and classification library. Yara is an open-source, multi-platform tool that allows you to create your own signatures to identify malware families based on text or hex strings present on samples of those families. And finally, Patevera is holding a contest. Design the splash screen for the next version of Maltego and win a free license. That's it for this week's Tool Time. Join us again next week for our salute to Tool Time. We'll be back with more H&N Cast after these messages.
Stalkers, burglars, employers, parents, strangers, hackers, lawyers. What you post on social networking sites is an advertisement of who you are, where you are, and how you can be targeted. Set your profile to private, only accept friends you know, never reveal your whereabouts, and don't give away personal information. Otherwise, anyone can read it. Everyone can see it.
And now for a few quick stories we found on the net this week. I hope this next story is just plain wrong, or a hoax or something. It seems that Fox is going to produce a comedy show about penetration testing. I kid you not. They're going to call it Breaking In, and it stars Christian Slater.
From Happy Madison Productions comes the breakout new comedy.
I have to break into a car dealership and bust out of this job.
And buy a cake.
And buy a cake.
Breaking In. Coming soon to Fox.
I don't know what else to say. I just hope it gets canceled before it ever airs. This definitely ain't no Tiger Team. The Google homepage in Bangladesh recently suffered a DNS redirect. The redirected page claimed that it had been owned by TigerMate. Google corrected the problem pretty damn quick. A group known as Fatal Error Crew has claimed responsibility for launching a DDoS attack against the official homepage of Dilma Rousseff, the president of Brazil. Brazilian authorities are, of course, investigating. The city of Johannesburg in South Africa thought they were being all smart and stuff when they installed what amounts to a cell phone with a data plan into traffic lights, enabling remote management of the lights. Sounds pretty cool, But the bad guys found out there were SIM cards inside the traffic lights and, well, they broke out their axes. Seems that the SIM cards work just as well on a regular phone, allowing the crook to make free calls. A computer programmer working on Fannie Mae's network of over 500 machines has been sentenced to about 3.5 years in jail for planting what has been called a logic bomb on the organization's computers after he was fired. The malware was designed to spread throughout the Fannie Mae network of computers and destroy all data, including financial securities and mortgage information. A few other jail terms were started this week. Rubico, aka David Cornell, reported for his 1 year and a day for guessing Sarah Palin's email password popcorn, and the TSA contractor who pleaded guilty back in October for tampering with TSA databases received his sentence of 2 years behind bars. If you're going to be in Cambridge, Massachusetts this summer and need a way to earn some dough and want to help out the internet community, check in with the Stop Badware organization. They're looking for someone to help test websites looking for bad software. We have the link at hackernews.com. And that's all the quick stories we found on the net this week. That means it's time for your Con Fu. Before we get to the cons, some hackerspace news for you. It seems that a few hackerspaces are in need of some help. The Shack hackerspace in Stuttgart, Germany may soon be evicted and is desperately looking for some new space. The London hackerspace has recently doubled in size, which has greatly increased their rent, and are looking for a few donations. And Noisebridge in San Francisco has been holding an ongoing fundraising drive for some time now. Noisebridge is a very awesome place. If you're in San Francisco, you should check it out and maybe slip them some dough. They could use it. If you can help out, we have the links to all 3 hackerspaces at hackernews.com. Don't forget that ThoughtCon 2 is taking place on April 15th this year, and ticket sales are open. ThoughtCon does not sell tickets at the door, and they did sell out last year, so if you're interested, get your tickets now. Another new con called Takedown Con has opened its call for papers. Takedown Con happens in Dallas in the middle of May. Now for the Stack of Shame, the list of all known open vulnerabilities as cataloged by the Zero Day Initiative.
Welcome to the real world.
That's it for this week's HNN Cast. I've been your host, Space Rogue, and you've been watching the Hacker News Network.
Remember, if you have any news you think we should report, send it to news@hackernews.com. You have been watching HNN Cast. This is Space Rogue for the Hacker News Network.
Fun to do bad things.